Hello debutantes, I am back again today to answer your questions that you were nice enough to leave me on my Facebook and my YouTube channel. So I know I haven't been around in quite a while, but I wanted to go ahead and film this question and answer video. Part of me being so tired all the time is I am so unmotivated. The thought of doing things just is like, that's all it is a thought, because I just don't want to do anything. But they switched up my medication. I'm feeling a little bit better. I have more of a desire to do things, so I figured we would go ahead and knock this video out that I've been promising for a month now. So I went ahead and I actually printed up my questions, my comments, because it was from 2 different videos and Facebook, so I wanted to make sure I answered all your questions. So these are in no order, they're exactly as they came off the comments, so I may answer a question more than once, I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right in and get started. So my first question is from Amanda W. She has a YouTube channel. Most of you should know Amanda by now. And her question is, as a stay-at-home mom, then into wife, did you ever plan it that way? Yes, that's what I planned. Absolutely. I was 9 years old when I came home and told my parents I was going to be a stay-at-home wife and mother. I had decided at 9. So my husband and I started dating. I was 16 or 17 years old, and I could tell we were getting serious. And I said to him, if you don't want a woman who wants to stay home and be a housewife and take care of the kids, then we need to stop right now, because that is the life that I want, and that's just the way it is. And luckily, he wanted the same things. So Amanda says, we are torn if I want to keep staying home as the kids all go off to school, or stay home and just keep at it. I have a degree I should be using, but I feel like the kids will always need me. Why should you be using your degree? Yeah, it'd be nice if you got what you paid for. And if all your kids are in school, this is my opinion, why not try and get a job while they're at school, or helping out at school? I know several moms I know, they became bus drivers for their kids' school, and some other friends of mine got kitchen positions just so they would be available still when their kids were off of school. But if you can financially afford for you to be home, I always think that's the best thing, because your kids, there's no such thing as quality time. I'm sorry, it's a myth. Kids want quantity time. They don't care if you're in the bedroom crying because you're so stressed out. They just want to know that you're in the house. That's just the way it is. And sitting on this end of raising children, the time with your kids is never, ever wasted. Good days, bad days, it's just not wasted. I mean, I'm gonna cry right off the bat. I just don't think any time spent with your children is wasted. So Amanda, I hope I answered your question. Jillian at home. Hi Jill. She says a couple other things, but her question is, what do you wish more people knew about you? I feel like I'm kind of an open book, that I don't really keep a lot from people. I mean, if people ask me questions, I'm usually very straightforward. Sometimes we're really honest. I don't think there's anything that I'm hiding. I'm definitely not the same person I was in my youth, thank goodness, as I am now. So I wasn't always this sweet and mild Jillian. How's that? I'll leave it at that. Ragtop asks, have you always lived in Florida? What was your favorite subject in high school and my least favorite? I have always lived in Florida. I lived in Illinois very briefly in the 70s when my dad had to go to Illinois to work. We made it one winter, and Mom, me, and my brother came back to Miami. I love Florida. I'm a Florida girl through and through. This is my home, and I think Florida somewhere will always be my home. What was your favorite subject in high school? I can honestly say I hated high school, and it wasn't because I was bullied or picked on. It's not where I wanted to be. I went to an all-girls Catholic high school. To me it was ridiculous. I know that doesn't make sense, but the nuns were always trying to tell me to do one thing, and that's not what I wanted to do, and I really thought the nuns were full of it. Personally, I was very full of myself, obviously. I just didn't like high school. I had more fun in junior high, and maybe that's why I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, But high school to me just seemed like a joke. I wasn't into cliques, that wasn't my thing. I mostly hung out with my public school friends. Sorry, I'm outside, so excuse the traffic. So as far as subject-wise, I did have one teacher that I really loved. Her name was Miss Wilkins, and she taught geometry of all things. And I hate math, but I got straight A's in her class because she took a genuine interest in me, and she took a genuine interest in teaching all of her kids. So I did very well. That was the only math class I ever got an A in, was her class. And my least favorite, I would have to say, was religion class, because I had so many questions, even back then, about the Catholic Church and their doctrine, and I just didn't think it was biblical, and it really bothered me. And it didn't help that the nun, Sister Mary Abrams, used to fart in class and say, "Excuse my bodily functions." Disgusting, okay? Disgusting. So anyway, hope that answered your question. The former Mrs. Jones, how long have you lived in your house? What's your favorite part about it? Also, how long do you plan on living there, or do you want to move at some point? I have lived in this house for 22 years. Yeah, 22 years, I believe, 21 or 22 years, which is longer than any house I've ever lived in. My favorite part about my house is who I share it with, to be perfectly honest. I love that we live on a little bit of property. This used to be much more rural until they put the road that you can probably hear in. But then again, I'm 3 minutes to Target, so that has its ups and downs. But all in all, it's been 23 pretty happy years here. So yeah, it's good. How long do I plan on staying here, and do I plan to move? We're always moving. We're always saying, we're moving, we're gonna go here, we're going there. But right now we're kind of waiting to see what the kids are gonna do. We would all like to move to maybe northern central Florida, not far from Disney World, like Winter Garden, possibly Mount Dora, which is where I would love to live, in Mount Dora on Dora Lake, but it's kind of expensive. So yes, we're always moving. When, we don't know. All the time. So I hope that answered your question. Mimi's Mixed Bag. Do you work out regularly? That's funny. With your new healthier eating, are you counting calories, reducing fat and sugars, or what? I actually used to work out twice a day. I used to do about 45 minutes of cardio in the morning, and then I would do cardio and weights in the morning, and then in the evening I would do 45 minutes of Zumba. That was 5 days a week. I would work out twice a day. And then whatever's going on with me came crashing down on top of me. And if I work out in the morning, even if I do a revised workout from what I used to do, which is what I have to do, I pretty much am done for the day. If I work out, then I take a shower and that's it, I'm done. I do want to start working out, but like I said, I'm going to definitely have to revise my workouts. My knees can't handle squats and things like that anymore. So I'm working on that. That's what I'm doing. And my new healthier eating habits, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily, doing a certain plan. I'm trying to stay away from white foods, carbohydrates, sugars, but I'm not giving up my sweet tea. I do put less sugar in it, and I do have my coffee once or twice a day, and I put sugar in that. I do not like fake sugars, aspartame, stevia seems to give me a headache. So what I would prefer to do is just not have as many sugary drinks. I try to limit my tea to once a day from Dunkin' Donuts. So that's what I'm doing. Food-wise, like I said, I'm trying to stay away from potatoes, white rice, white breads, those types of things, eating more protein. I have noticed when I stay away from those foods, I feel better. I am anemic, which is part of my problem, so the more red meat I can eat, spinach, kale, broccoli, those types of things are better for me. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. Anna B. What food is a weakness for me? Cheese and crackers. I could live on cheese and crackers, and you throw in some of that Hickory Farm summer sausage, I am in heaven. I am definitely a salty person, where Tony and Maureen are sweet. I would eat chips and dip, cheese and crackers, French bread with butter, anything that's salty and crunchy and gooey and dairy, which dairy doesn't like me, but I like it. So that's my go-to. I'm having a panic attack, I want something, is cheese and crackers. Where did you and Honey meet? How did he propose? What was your wedding like? I know I'm very nosy, and this is from Connie Francis. Connie, I think you're hysterical. Honey and I met in junior high. He happened to live one house down from my very best friend in the whole world, Tanya. Sorry. She passed away when she was 36 years old. And that's how I met him, really, from junior high and just hanging out in the neighborhood. We were that typical, that 70s show group. We'd all sit outside, hang out on the cars and just talk. That was what we did. It was fun. So that's how we met. How did he propose? He proposed in the middle of an argument. We had purchased an engagement ring. Again, sorry about the cars. I hope you can hear me fine. He had purchased a ring and put it on layaway for me. And then that Christmas, my grandfather gave me my grandmother's rings. And my grandmother, who we called Bubba, we were super, super close. And I was devastated when she passed away. So he gave me her rings to use. And those are the rings I wanted to use. Of course, my husband wanted something that was from him. And as we continued to argue, I guess he came to see my point of view. And in the middle of the argument, he just said, well, will you marry me? And of course I said yes. I was 17 years old and a senior in high school. You can only imagine how well that went over. And what was my wedding like? My wedding was quite the to-do. I was the first one in my group to get married. We had a band. There were like over 100 people. There was lots and lots of drinking and dancing. And like I said, it was the first big bash for all of us. And needless to say, I'll just give you a final glimpse of what my wedding was like. I fell asleep on a bench outside the hall with my dress over my head. If that answers your question. That's what my wedding was like. Okay, Michelle Gibbs asked, how long have you and your husband been married? What made you decide to homeschool your kids, and did you enjoy it? And how old are my dogs? We kind of covered everything. My husband and I will be married 27 years this November. We've been together since 1986, and we got married in 1988, and so that is how long we have been married. What made me decide to homeschool? I always felt a calling to homeschool. I just really felt that it was something I needed to do. My kids did go to school. I was very young. I think I was 23 when my son started kindergarten, and all of my friends were older and were like, this is ridiculous, you have to send him to school. And I really, really didn't want to. And then I started seeing in like secular magazines, like Women's Day or things like that, that weren't even Christian based, why I homeschooled my kids. And I just felt that I needed to bring them home. My husband wasn't so sure about that. And so we had long conversations, and I went to several support group meetings before I even pulled my kids out of school. And then I finally just said to him, listen, if me or the kids need psychiatric counseling after a year, we'll send them back to school. Within 2 weeks, he was like, nope, we're doing this forever. Just their attitudes had changed. And our family relationships through the years, I just think we're much stronger as a family unit. And everyone asks about socialization. You know, your kids won't be social. My kids are social with more than just their own peer group. I think when you put your kid in school, they only socialize with the 4th grade. They only socialize with that age group. My kids can have a conversation with a 90-year-old, a 19-year-old, or a 9-year-old. They're as comfortable in those social situations as an adult would be. Okay, how old are my dogs? I know someone else answered this question, but I think Cooper is 7 and Bella is 6. Cooper we purchased from a breeder out in Okeechobee. He is a full-bred boxer. He has papers. His full AKC name is Cooper Von Chaos, and he is a beautiful boxer. Bella was actually a rescue from Craigslist. Someone needed to, they were moving into an apartment and they couldn't have big dogs, and we just thought Cooper needed a buddy. So that's how we got Bella, and they're about a year apart in age. So, and they are not siblings, and I will tell you who asked me that question before. Brittany Lynn, could you talk a little bit about your family, like how many kids you have and your family in general? I'm assuming you're married to Honey. No judgment, by the way. Where in Florida do you live? Well, of course, I've been married to Honey since God was a boy. I have 2 kids. I have a boy and a girl. My son is 23 and my daughter is 22. They are 18 months apart. I'm glad that we had them very close together. They were extremely close growing up. They're still very close to this day, and having the boy first and the girl second, it was almost like raising twins. We did keep them on the same grade level in their curriculum, so it worked out really well. So I live in South Florida. I live in Palm Beach County, out west. I grew up in Miami. I had a home in Broward when I was married, and now we're in Palm Beach County. How do you deal with your husband working odd hours? And this is from Hope Love 24. My husband has almost always worked some kind of crazy hours, whether it was 9:30 to 6, midnight to 4, 4 to midnight. It's just been part of our life. That's just how I function. I do know I am more productive when he has a 7:30 to 4 schedule, but I don't think he'll ever have that kind of schedule again. He originally went 4 to midnight when we were homeschooling high school, so he could teach the higher maths and the higher sciences. He was available to them all day, so he taught them biology and chemistry and algebra and geometry and all of those things that are not my strong points. I taught English and language and those types of things. So I taught my strong points and he taught his, and then the schedule just kind of stuck. It's extremely hot here in the summer, so working 4 to midnight, he is not stuck in that like 100-degree mid-afternoon heat, which, you know, I kind of like him working 4 to midnight. I'm not crazy about him working the weekends, but I'm a loner, so it all works out. Heidi Martinez, did you only want 2 kids, or is that just how it happened? That's just how it happened. I wanted anywhere from 6 to 8 kids. I grew up across the street from a family with 8 kids, and they always fascinated me. I always wanted a very big family. That's just what I wanted. But when Maureen was 9 or 10 months old, the company my husband worked for just wreaked havoc with so many people's lives, and my husband took a huge pay cut and he had to get a second job, and that's when I wanted to get pregnant again, and it just wasn't the right time. And then my house filled up with furniture. We got into schedules, and although that baby ache didn't go away for a really, really long time, I just felt that I would be cheating my kids if I brought a baby into it, because they had their lives. You know, we had cheerleading, we had football, and we had scouts, and we had all these things going on. And if I brought a baby in, that would even limit my time with them, because their dad worked all kinds of crazy hours. So that's kind of how it happened, and I think that's what God wanted, and that's how it worked out. Rebecca Mish, I hope I pronounced that right, Rebecca. When and how did you become a woman of faith? I went to a Lutheran preschool when I was very young, and I was just in love with this school. I can still remember standing outside and receiving communion. They had the bread, and you passed the bread and the grape juice, and you passed it around in this circle, and I just thought, this is amazing. I think I was 5 then, and I have always felt a calling on my life, and I think that's why I had such a hard time with the Catholic doctrine. I just didn't feel like that's where I needed to be. But my mother was Catholic, and she wanted us to have some type of religious not I want to say upbringing, but like knowledge. She wanted us to know Jesus, and that was what she knew, so that's what she showed us. And I did bring my kids to the Catholic Church when we first moved up here. They were both baptized, because God forbid they should end up in purgatory, right? As aren't all of us Catholics brainwashed into thinking our babies are going to end up in purgatory? That's not biblical, by the way. I don't need any hate mail. I apologize if I offended you. But when the kids were old enough, I didn't see the Catholic Church having anything for my children. I don't think at 5 you can grasp, or however old you are now when you receive Holy Communion, what that means. I don't think that you are a full-fledged, member of Christ's body or whatever at that age. I know we have confirmation at 13, and that's when we're supposed to, accept it for ourselves. But my kids went to VBS, and we got involved in a church that was really geared, they had a lot for the kids, and they just were in love with Jesus and God and the stories, and they sang the songs, and I think that is when I really understood a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I always believed in Jesus Christ. I always believed that Jesus was my personal Savior, but I wouldn't say that I was familiar with the fact that I could talk to Jesus. Jesus was always with me. I had the Holy Spirit within me. I just didn't know about that personal relationship. So I would have to say, when my kids were babies, I really understood what it meant to be born again, shall we say. I hope that answered your question. Stacy D, it might not be your thing, but if you had a bucket list, what would be on it? I would go to Ireland. That would be a huge thing on my bucket list. I'm Irish and German, and I, oddly enough, was in a beauty pageant called the Miss Miami Colleen pageant back when I was 18. And we did what we called an emerald tree, and you traced your heritage, you know, your Irish heritage, because you had to have some form of Irish heritage in order to be in this beauty pageant. So I was fascinated by learning about that line of people. So I would go to Ireland. I would definitely like to go to Germany because of my German heritage. I would like to just kind of see where my people came from. That to me is fascinating, to know why I am who I am, because these people were who they were. Like I said, I have boxes and bags of old family photos. Some of them are like tin types. That's how old they are. And that type of thing I'm fascinated with. So traveling to those two places would be on my bucket list. I don't have anything like I have a burning desire to go do. I would like to travel with my husband now that our kids are kind of grown. So those types of things. I would like to be able to take my grandchildren on a Disney cruise whenever they arrive and can enjoy it. What's on my bucket list is I would like to have enough money to make my family comfortable. That answers your question. I know that's not exciting.